reducing your dietary consumption of meat or becoming plant-based completely would save something like a ton of CO2 per year per person on average.
Right, Pete, thank you so much for joining me on Tail Talks. Can you just give a brief overview of who you are and what your company is?
Sure. So yeah, my name's Peter Rowe. Pete, I'm the CEO, co-founder of Deepbranch Biotechnology. So what we do is we convert carbon dioxide into protein. Protein we then use as a feed ingredient, so a replacement to things like and fish meal, which have big sustainability impacts. So basically what we try and do is take something that's traditionally viewed as a pollutant, as a waste stream, CO2, and actually turn it into something valuable that can add sustainability rather than detract from it.
Brilliant, perfect, love it. And obviously from stuff we've done, I know that there's certain challenges that you're going through, and there's a big kind of sustainability impact and everything, and that's what I think would be interesting to focus on today. What are some of those challenges that you have faced and that you've seen within the kind of the industry with what you're doing, and how have some of those challenges come to the forefront of what you're currently doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, for us as a business, we have been impacted, just like everyone else, but unlike a lot of startups, we can't quite so easily take our work offline. We've tried to put a few measures in place to ensure that everyone stays connected. So we have a coffee club just on a repeating schedule for our Google Hangouts, like a video conferencing thing. So in the mornings, if people want to, at 10:30, just grab a coffee and chat with people as you would do at work if you wanted a coffee break. Same thing with the virtual pub in the evenings. We've got a Strava running group so people can give each other kudos on the activity they're doing. So all these kind of things we're trying to do. But from an operational perspective, from a company standpoint, we use the opportunity to actually get some what we call cross-business unit working groups together. So pairing up people that perhaps normal or whatever normal used to be wouldn't have been working together. So maybe members of the business development team with some of the technical team who obviously know each other, work together occasionally, but don't have that much direct interface. Actually, sitting these people down together and saying, where is it that we can find value? How can we learn from one another? What are the hidden skill sets that perhaps some members of our technical team have? Are they particularly good at graphic design? Do they have an interest in web design, maybe writing brand applications, these kind of things?
Nice. No, I like it, and it makes sense. If you can give people that opportunity to show what other skills that they have, it really brings the best of people, and you realise the potential of what you can actually do with the people that you've got. So I think that's fantastic. On the sustainability side of things as well, how have the team adapted? How have you adapted?
Really, a lot of the benefits and the opportunities that are arising because of COVID-19 is something that will be realised more in the mid and long term after things begin to open up. But I think with regards to sustainability, it's been a really interesting time for people to understand, if you do press pause on transport and a lot of other carbon intensive activities, what that looks like. We've seen a significant increase in air quality. People are actually making most of that by going outside and exercising. Carbon reductions are drastically decreasing. And of course, I was reading a piece in The Economist recently about what you can do to reduce your carbon footprint. And of course, I think not owning a car saves something like 2 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent a year. But of course, I think another big one was meat consumption. So reducing your dietary consumption of meat or becoming plant-based completely would save something like a ton of CO2 per year per person on average. So I think in the long term, people have realized that there may be some silver linings to shutting down society for an elongated period of time. But everyone realizes that we can't just continue living in hibernation. But emerging from this and seeing that actually the way we were doing things before, there aren't so many barriers to putting in positive changes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess continuing on that point then as well, what opportunities do you then see for other organisations, once they go back to maybe full capacity and, maybe companies want to see sustainability at the forefront of everything that they're doing, what opportunities do you see for them in terms of what they can do, what they can change, what they can adapt?
I think we're having a lot of more inbound interest from carbon intensive companies that understand that they have to do a lot of long-term strategic planning for reducing their CO2, and hopefully pressing pause is going to provide those more carbon intensive companies that necessary period of planning to do so. And I think a lot of it is coming to a realization that it's not necessarily a massive trade-off between the bottom line of your process, so how profitable it is, versus how sustainable it is. In our instance, basically what we're saying is that if you have a carbon intensive process, that's great for us. We'd like to partner with you because we can actually turn that CO2 into something valuable. We can valorize that CO2, give you an additional revenue stream, and have a big sustainability impact on the other side of that. And basically, to explain how that works, it would be conventionally you would have a process that's emitting CO2 into the atmosphere. Instead, we use that CO2 as a means to produce protein. And the carbon footprint associated with that protein is significantly smaller than the carbon footprint associated with conventional ones. So for our work that we do at Drax, the power plant in Yorkshire, this would have a CO2 footprint of about 200 kilograms per ton of product, which is about 90% less carbon dioxide equivalent compared to both soy and fish meal. So that's really where the carbon saving is. And I think you just get that educational piece around it's not necessarily to do with the amount of CO2 that our process uses. It's more to do actually with the amount of CO2 it displaces. It avoids that deforestation, international shipping, a lot of intensive processing associated with soy, and instead just saying we do it on our doorstep in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What kind of final remarks can you provide for anyone that's watching that thinks they've got something from this, but they want some way of starting, they want some way of going about this, they want some reassurance for going about this? What kind of final remarks can you give to those people?
You can affect change on a small level, but I think it's also important to state that obviously no change is too small, and any benefit that we can have even on a micro level is great, but ultimately to affect the big 2050 target of net zero CO2, it's also about applying more pressure on the government to bring in legislation. You see it with BP. Their CEO earlier this year was saying that he sees that big changes have to be implemented in BP. They have to transition away and go beyond petroleum, away from fossil fuels. And I think a lot of that people are realizing that big changes have to be made. I guess just in summary, it needs big corporations to change just as much as it needs individuals.
Brilliant. No, and I think that's a great place to end, and I wish you all the best with everything that you're doing, and I really look forward to seeing how things grow for Deepbranch and yourself. So thank you very much for joining us on Tail Talks, Pete, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon.
Yeah, we'll hopefully see you in person soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Cheers, Pete. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Cheers, Alex.